Thanks, Bree, and welcome, everybody. Welcome to our panel. Welcome to everybody from, I think, the Pacific Northwest and beyond. This was supposed to be Pacific Northwest, and I know that's been the focus today. We do have a Pacific Northwest athlete in Pierre Crockwell with us, and I'll introduce the student athletes and the coaches right now, and then we'll get right down to it. I want to welcome Chris Rodriguez, the head baseball coach, and also Alex LeForestier, an infielder on the team. Damon Stoudamire and the aforementioned Pierre Crockwell from men's basketball. Our women's basketball team, Bradley Davis, the head coach, and Kaylin Randhawa. And for volleyball, Greg Gibbons and Jadyn Tubbs. Welcome, everybody, and I hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to start with volleyball and with Coach Gibbons, because it was announced today by the West Coast Conference that the fall sports season has not been canceled, but it's been suspended. And I'm gonna go to Greg Gibbons and let him fill you in on what he knows, because that's an announcement that affects him more than anybody else on this panel as of right now. So, Coach Gibbons, I'll give you the floor to start.
Yeah, obviously the WCC announced that, they pushed our date to September 24th as a start date as of right now, and depending on what that looks like, but as of right now, it looks like September 24th, and that'll be a home match against Portland. So we go right into conference, and, obviously that's as good a sign as you can ask for. I'm glad, number one is the conference, it started at our year university, and now the conference, and it's about the health and wellness of our students and student athletes. And this is what they're doing is they, for health and safety, and it gives our university now a lot more time to put in some protocols in place and kind of follow what's going on, in our backyard and in the country right now, because, numbers are obviously not in a good place. And then from what I understand, they'll look at that date, and if we can right now, that's what we're going to go off of, is trying to get our girls prepared to come back and compete. It was neat. We had, before this meeting I was on with our team, both our indoor and beach volleyball teams, and listen to them. And I think you could tell, finally, at least there's something there. They've been waiting, and they're getting obviously extremely anxious to get back together, and we're one step closer, if as it permits, safely to get our girls back. And, our university is working on different protocols and putting them in place. We're preparing now our team to go into a 14-day self-isolation, in another week or two here, and see if we can get them back somewhere in August to start training. And I'm excited about that, because I think it's the smartest move. I don't think we're in any place to try and compete or try and get competitions in now. I like it because at the very least it gets our team back together. What I think is most important, every one of our girls, when I'm talking to them, they just want to be together, as much as they want to compete and all. It's just, we've always thrown out different scenarios. It's just, I think the most important thing is I think they're excited that pretty soon here they are slowly getting ready to come back together and do whatever it takes to make that possible, and get back to going to school and finding something, towards that education and training to compete whenever that date for a competition. Hopefully it stays September 24th or whatever that date may be, but as of right now it's September 24th. And I'm very excited, because obviously it's one step closer to getting our team back to be together again.
I'm going to ask Jadyn for her perspective on this after I ask Greg one more. But Greg, when you talk about getting the girls back to train in August, that's obviously a lot shorter time. If you are going to start your season in September, it's a lot shorter time to train than you're used to. Do you feel like there's some pressure to kind of distill all that you'd normally do in a few months' time into 1 month to get ready?
No, I think that's impossible. You can't, by the time our girls get back, let's say in a perfect, maybe August 13th or whatever, that's impossible to take 5 months off and go, okay, we're gonna throw everything at them. We're not gonna. It's like anything. It's anything in life. As change happens, you overcome and adapt. You adapt to any situation. So with that in mind, I've already explained to our girls, we're basically going to breakdown drills. Everything we do right away is what we did in the spring, is where you get opportunities where you do technical, basically breakdown drills. We're going to break down everything you're working on and parts of your game, but no, we're going to have to, because, we don't even know what that looks like, right? Is right now, if we were going into a practice today, I would have 2, 3, maybe 4 at the most coming into a gym with myself and my staff. I mean, everything's we're basically, you know, I was kind of joking about it, but I was like, when I was with the team, I basically am going to lift up a ball and say, hey, it's all about the ball again, right? This is a volleyball. This is what it's about. And going from there and just starting taking reps and easing back into it. Because I think one of the things is you got to remember, as you were saying, you can't get to a gym. Well, think about it. For a lot of months there, our girls haven't been able to get into a gym. They haven't been able to play volleyball. You know, there's no athlete I know of. I don't care. You know, maybe Damon, but I still doubt it there, to where is one of the best athletes out there. I don't think you can take that much time off, come into a gym and say, okay, in 4 weeks, we're going to get after it for 4 weeks and we're going to ready for a season. I don't think it works that way. I think we've got to prepare them mentally, physically, and emotionally the right way, though, you know, and just kind of take our time doing it. So I don't feel any pressure. I think it's just what we always do. It's about the process. Focus on the process and grow every day.
Jadyn, first of all, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How do you envision it's going to be if you do get to train in August and then start a season at the end of September? Have you thought that far ahead as to how you think that month of training is going to be? And have you been able to stay in shape during this time?
Well, to start off, I haven't been really thinking that far ahead, because at this time I just have to go basically like day by day. But I've been trying to stay pretty optimistic about everything, like when we're going to be able to come back. So it feels good now to finally just have like I'm in Brubeck right now. I'm in Stockton. Feels good to be back around teammates finally. And like, there's even some open gyms we've been able to get into. So that's been good to like touch a ball, but I'm excited to finally just start hearing numbers and knowing like, okay, something is changing. Like, it sounds like we're going to try and have a season, because my little sister, she's gonna be a freshman at Dominguez Hills, and she doesn't have a season. She's not going to school till January. So it's good to know, like, we've had Zooms weekly, knowing that they care, they want us to get back on the court. So it's good, like, seeing change in the right direction right now. And I've been staying in shape. This past couple of weeks, I've been lifting with my neighbor. He has like a little gym in his garage. So I've been lucky, definitely, because some people are doing like full body workouts for the past 5 months. So I've definitely been lucky, but I'm excited to finally get around my team and get a real lift with them, because nothing compares to that, or even getting to like be in a gym with all D1 girls. It's stuff you take for granted during this time. So I'm excited.
I can imagine. I'll go to Bradley and then I'll go to Damon. Bradley, have you heard anything about, just give us an update. I know it's only been a week since we've chatted, but anything about the start of your season?
No, I think there was a line in the release today that said the decisions that are being made for fall sports do not apply to men's and women's basketball. So our timeline is still on par with what it was.
Ideally, if you could get your girls back in the gym to train, when would that time frame be for you? And I know this is, I mean, you're shooting from the hip and it's all contingent on a lot of things, but if you had an ideal time frame.
Well, the ideal is that there's nothing going on in the world right now, and that's just not the case. So ideally, we would have been starting up Monday, right? If I'm right, Kaylin. We would have been starting up Monday with workouts, going 4 hours a week, and they're back in the weight room, and that would be the ideal. And so we adjust from that point. And for a while, it looked like we would be able to start to tier some of our team in terms of. We have a few come in, then have a few arrive in Stockton and self-isolate, then have a few more come in. But that's looking a little less unrealistic. So we're just waiting for, basically we're dependent on the state of California, the county of San Joaquin, and then the university to tell us, here's what we can do.
I apologize. I phrased that question poorly. I guess what I wanted to say was what's the ideal time frame how much time do you think you'd need to get your girls ready for the start of the season?
Gotcha. Well, practice starts 42 days before our first game, and you'd like to have some time before that to get in shape and to kind of slowly get things back. So 42 days for us is September 30th. And if we have about, 3, 4, 5 weeks before that, I think we'd be okay. Is that better, Zach?
That's great. Yeah. Sorry. That was, I phrased it poorly. Like I said, I kind of wanted to cut to the heart of how much time you'd actually need.
No problem.
Kaylin, how much time do you think you would need to get ready for a season as a student athlete?
That's just it's a hard question to answer, just because I'm here at home working out, and as a player, I feel like I'm getting better. But
you getting shots up and everything?
Yeah, I have access to my friend, one of my good friends, family friends, he has a hoop set up in his backyard. So thankfully for that, I'm able to get shots up. I don't know what I would do without him, but it's so different, like coming in with your team and practicing and getting that chemistry. Like as a player individually, you have to have your own work ethic, but as a team, you have to have that chemistry. You have to be able to play with each other. And so it takes time. Like it definitely takes time, especially when you have new girls coming in and you don't have that chemistry, you don't get to play with each other. So definitely we would need that full preseason, but obviously things are just up in the air. You don't really know what's going to happen yet.
I'm going to go to Damon. I know it's dependent on a lot of the personalities that you have, but in your mind, how long does it take to develop a team chemistry if you're adding kids in?
I don't know. I think it'll be different somewhat this year because it's the first time I really had returners, except when I took the job.
True.
I think it'll be different this year. So I'm not going to really I don't really know. I'm not going to say. Truthfully, I don't even really care. The only thing I care about is like, I just got 11 players because depth going to win. That's how I play. So everybody want to know like why I rely on depth. 1999, we had a strike shortened season, okay? In the NBA, there'll be some guys that come in out of shape. You can't do nothing about it. But the more players you play, you'll be fine. You give them short breaths. We went to the Western Conference Finals. Depth is something that you need in times like this because some people are going to be in better shape than others, and that's just something you got to deal with, And I think Bradley said it. Kids today are used to routine. Like we didn't have a routine, so this is like old school to me. This is when I was in college, you went home for the summer. You didn't go to summer school. The last day of school was late April when I went to Arizona. Finals was late April. I didn't see my coaching staff or nobody on my team until we came back for the first day of school. And then we had 9 weeks until the first day of practice. And you couldn't even play basketball back then. You just had to train with the strength coach. So I'm not going to let guys kind of brainwash themselves or whatever. So I haven't even been talking to them about nothing like that. And I haven't really put too much thought into it. Because we'll figure it out when they get here. Sure.
I'm going to go to Pierre now, our lone representative from the Pacific Northwest. First of all, Pierre, how you doing, man? I know you're up in Tacoma, right?
Yes, sir. I'm good.
You've been able to work out, get shots up there?
Yeah, I've been able to work out almost every day. I know some guys that are opening up the gym, so I'm able to get in there.
You, just to recap your freshman season, which was outstanding, you averaged over 3 assists a game. You're an up-and-coming young point guard, and I could see how you're going to thrive in the WCC. Can you kind of put into perspective your first year at Pacific and in the conference?
My first year at Pacific was good. I think that as a team, we came a long way from when we first got there during the summer workouts, and to see how we finished the season was good because I don't think people thought we were going to finish top 3 in our conference. So it was just a good season, and obviously coach got coach of the year. So that was another bonus for our season.
What was it like to go under the radar as, I guess, both as a freshman player and as a team? I mean, you went under the radar pretty much all season, and then the team also succeeded when a lot of people didn't think they would. What was that experience like for you?
It was good because how we try to build our culture, we try to feel like as if we are like the underdogs, or we got to work to where we want to get. So to see like all the work we put in and it finally paying off, it was good.
It was fun to watch too. I'm going to jump over to baseball and say hello to Chris Rodriguez, new head coach of the baseball team. How you doing, C-Rod?
Doing well, Zach. Thanks, man.
I know there's not going to be a lot we could talk about in terms of news for the baseball season collegiately because it's so far away and it just seems like miles away with everything else that's going on with the fall sports and then the winter sports. But is there any update you can give us from a baseball standpoint, what you've heard?
Baseball wise, at least WCC, they've kind of put spring sports kind of on the back end a little bit. We're not going to really look into manipulating our spring schedule till probably October, which I think is smart to just kind of let this thing ride itself out and not make any or judgments early, we'll call it, and just kind of let it play itself out, and we'll see where we are in October. But school wise, we still plan on trying to get back on campus, and I know it's important to the guys to get back on campus and to actually start working out.
Yeah, I can imagine. We'll go to Alex LeForestier, who's coming off an abbreviated junior season and native of Sacramento. How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. You played in all 17 games that the team played in the abbreviated season, and is another case of a student athlete that probably was really sad to see the season come to an end when it did, because you were in the midst of having a great start to the year. 371 batting average, 7th with 23 hits in the conference. You were off to a great start. What was the catalyst for that start in your mind?
Well, you always want to get off to a great start. You said the season came short. There was always time for those numbers to go down, obviously. But, it was great to get off to such a fast start. And I think, having guys around me this past year who were just absolutely fantastic, our whole offense was sort of clicking. So I was just sort of able to feed off that during the beginning of the year. So, but yeah, it was obviously pretty heartbreaking for the season to get cut short.
I know baseball is a sport that's really predicated on sample size, and I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, you hit 371, albeit in 17 games, but going back to your freshman year, you hit 317 your freshman year. So you're a guy that can hit over a larger sample size. Have you always had the natural ability to get in the box and to hit?
That's an interesting question. Baseball is obviously a game of, slumps and hot streaks, and you go through different seasons where you're hitting well and seeing the ball great and being able to make an impact at the plate. And I've definitely had seasons where I've done really well and seasons where I haven't. So it depends on the year, but ultimately what makes a good player is consistency. So,
Chris, can you speak to Alex's ability to hit? Because I've been around baseball a long time, and I've seen guys that just have a knack for it, and I've seen guys work at it and get better. But I mean, based on Alex's numbers, collegiately at least, he's got a knack for it. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, what's the type of player Alex is, or type of hitter he is to be honest, he knows exactly who he is, and he doesn't try to do too much with anything. He's notorious to have an extremely great eye at the plate. That's why his on-base percentage is pretty much close to 500, and he does just a really good job of plate discipline, not swinging at the pitcher's pitch, but actually doing a really good job at swinging at the pitches that he truly wants to swing at. I think that's called hitting. The moment that you can choose on what pitches you're going to swing at, your success rate dramatically goes up. It's kind of a philosophy that we kind of talk about a lot within our offensive scheme. Is so many people think that offense wise the pitcher has the upper hand, where I kind of spin it a little bit because the pitcher has to throw 3 strikes in order to get you out. The hitter only has to make 1 good swing. So if we have this mindset of going into this at bat, is that pitcher's going to make a mistake. And if we're disciplined enough and know our plate discipline, we are going to only have to make 1 good swing to hit the ball really hard. And Alex does an extremely good job at swinging at the right pitches, and to get Alex to actually chase, you've done something special, and that's why it leads to his success.
Alex, what's your approach when you get up there, based on what Coach Rodriguez just said? What's your approach at the plate?
Well, I think you have to, for me, it's like Coach said, sort of understanding who I am as a hitter. And it's about trying to work the count and trying to see as many pitches as possible, and hoping that the more pitches I see, the more pitches I can cross off sort of the mental checklist. All right, well, you can't throw me that one again. I've seen that. I know that's coming. and ultimately just trying to find a pitch in the middle of the zone and put a good swing on it. But ultimately, when I'm working the count and seeing pitches and forcing him to sort of come to me instead of chasing and giving him an advantage, it seems to work out well.
Awesome. I want to go to Kaylin because we already have some questions coming in, and I want to get you a chance to know the student athletes a little bit better. First of all, Kaylin is a junior from Turlock out of Pittman High School. Jadyn, who's here from volleyball, also a Turlock native, but went to Turlock High School. First of all, and I'll start with Kaylin, did you guys know each other in high school peripherally?
Yes, we did. We were actually really good friends from junior high. We went to the same junior high together. So I met her in 7th grade, and we played club volleyball together, actually 8th grade year as well.
I was going to say, you played volleyball, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys play on the same club team, or?
Yeah, so 8th grade I played for Rage, which is the team Jadyn plays for, which was like a higher level. So I did that for 1 year, so we got to play together that year. And then I kind of stepped down from the higher level volleyball club to focus on basketball.
When did you make that determination that you wanted to go basketball instead of volleyball?
Honestly, in junior high, I had started basketball in like the 4th grade, and my brother and sister both played in high school, so I was always like their biggest fan. I'm a lot because they're 5 and 8 years older than I am, so I was just that little girl in the stands watching them, which is where I kind of grew my passion for the game. And 7th grade, that was like the first time I ever touched a volleyball, so that sport just kind of came in after that I had a lot of fun with.
I want to get to the question that someone submitted for you, Kaylin, and then I'm going to jump over to Jadyn. I'll let her talk on how you guys knew each other in Turlock. But to proceed this question, you shot 86% from the line, which was second in the WCC. And the question coming from David, what is your routine at the free throw line?
Well, David, my free throw line routine is really, really simple. I honestly just take a quick little deep breath, give it one bounce and a little spin in the hand, and that's it. Like, I try to keep it really minimal just because if you would have seen my free throw line routine in high school, it was atrocious. I used to like dip all the way to the ground. It was really bad. Even my freshman year, Bradley was like, you need to stop going so low. And he was like, just dip it low. You don't need to go all the way down to the ground. I was like, okay. So I definitely changed it and tweaked it, but it's just really simple now. Just a little one dribble, spin, and that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Jadyn, so tell us about, from your perspective, knowing Kaylin when you guys were growing up together in Turlock.
Yeah, as Kaylin said, I mean, we played for the same club team in 8th grade, but I've known Kay my whole life basically because we both grew up playing soccer too. And so we were always like running in the same circles when we were younger. And then even into high school, she played for my dad's basketball club. Her brother coached there. So like we've become super close family friends throughout the years, like always going out to eat together. So we're pretty close.
Awesome. And it's probably cool for both of you guys that you're attending Pacific together.
Yeah.
Jadyn, I want you to go back to the match last year versus Gonzaga. It had 32 digs, which was a career high, and it was also the highest single match total by a WCC athlete in 2019. Can you take us through that performance at Gonzaga specifically, or against Gonzaga? I don't know if it was home or in Spokane.
Mm-hmm. Well, this past year, one thing for me is I've tried really not to think about the numbers that way. So after the game, I'm like, dang, that's crazy. Like, I really got on that many balls. That's cool. But freshman year, it was like I was always like thinking about numbers and like trying to reach a certain statistic in the game. So I think that game, probably the reason I did that is because I wasn't thinking about it. So that was pretty cool. That's awesome. But I think it was really big for me this year to stop thinking about numbers as much as I did freshman year.
Greg, how big is it to have someone like Jadyn on the back row like that?
Oh, I mean, I love Jadyn. I mean, she's all right. She's all right, you know. So, I mean, no, I mean, how much can you say? I mean, it's one of those where we keep redefining her role. You know, I mean, you keep challenging her. You know, it starts off like, how much can you pass? I mean, the reality is, you know, one conversation. I mean, it was at one point I challenged her. Hey, you know, look at this. We can land a helicopter in this court. I need you to pass 3/4 of it. Okay. I'm just like, think of it this way. If I'm standing there passing next to you, do you want me passing the ball? No. you know, so it's just like with her, it's just growing. How do you develop? What can you do? Let's give you free range is trying to, within our system is just, my goodness. I mean, she gives fits. I mean, when you get a kill, you're going to earn it. You know, I mean, she's just, as far as a primary passer, I mean, like this coming season, it's one of those to grow that role. I mean, we can. Every time you set a bar and she gets there, then you raise it, and then you keep raising it, and she keeps reaching up, you know. I mean, reach for the stars, you know. And like this year, she's going to score a lot of points for us. She was a good server last year. Well, she's going to be a great server this year, you know, with, you know, we're potentially have a young outside hitter alongside with her. Well, here she is, the experienced primary passer and defender, you know, now run this defense. You know, so it's neat watching her as she's developed. If you look at video from the beginning of the season and how she's kind of controlling the defense and taking a lot more ownership of it, it's a pretty neat thing. And I think great things, I mean, the best things are still to come with her. You know, I mean, she's nowhere near her ceiling, you know, but I mean, I think she's got the potential to obviously personally be the best libero in our conference. And that says a lot considering one of the liberos, you know, Mary at BYU is on the national team, was on, you know, and we've got very good liberos. So it's one of those where, and by doing that, she's going to elevate what we are, because we want to focus, I mean, defensively with the block we'll have and different things. I mean, she's a tremendous asset. And I mean, obviously I wish we had more time where we could just talk to her. I mean, her personality alone is just, you know, the energy she has. I mean, she's just great. You put her on the court and you get better just by her personality, which is a great thing. She's got some great leadership skills.
That's awesome. I want to jump over to Pierre. First of all, nice haircut, by the way. It's a totally different look. I barely recognized you when you came on.
Thank you.
I want to delve into what it's like for you being coached by Damon, and then I want to ask Damon what it has been like to coach you and about the raw skills that you brought to the table coming in as a freshman last year. But what was it like to be coached at point guard by Damon? And is there something that Damon has specifically helped you realize about your game in the year that he's been your coach?
Well, first of all, just being able to learn from a point guard that has did it at every level, who can teach me and show me new things every day in practice, has definitely taken my game to another level. He's just teaching me more so like as a point guard. I came in as a freshman and I wasn't as vocal as I should have been. So I think coming on this year, taking that leadership role of being the point guard on the team and making sure people are in their spots, that's one thing he's preached to me that I need to work on.
Damon, can you speak to Pierre's skill as a point guard? I remember when you got the job, the one thing that I was thinking to myself was, man, I want to see who's going to be able to play point guard for this guy. And when he has that person that can do it, how he's going to coach him up. And I think we got a great case study here in Pierre. But can you tell us what Pierre brought to the table right away as a freshman and then his evolution throughout the year last year?
I think the biggest thing that I've always liked about Pierre is that he never was scared of the moment. You know, he's the type of person that, you know, from the first time I seen him play, and I've known Pierre for a long time, you know, he's always had a lot of confidence. He played at prolific prep. He played with a lottery pick. He played with Josh Jackson. He played with a second-round pick. He played with Gary Trent. He's played in multiple tournaments. He's played against all of the top players in the country. He's played against, you know, like I said, guys in the pros and with guys in the pros. In high school, he was slated to go, when he moved back to Washington, to go to school with Jadyn McDaniel, who will be a first-round pick this year. That's invaluable here at Pacific because you can't get guys like that. He knows how to run a team. He was one of the leaders in assist-to-turnover ratio in the country. And the thing about it is that it's funny to me. And I think about this a lot because I've coached guys like this and I've played against guys like this. And I told Pierre this, I feel like, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like the more playing time he gets, and he played a lot this season, I think he'll easily be one of the best assist guys in the country. And I think that just as his years go on, everything will improve. You know, it's amazing as you just get older, you get wiser. You know, he'll learn. There are things that me and him talk about, and he'll get that. You know, but he's probably never been even told the things that I was telling him this year. So he'll figure it all out. Yes.
How much of playing point guard is a feel for the game, and how much can be taught?
It's all feel. You can't teach anybody how to be a point guard. You can teach them how to facilitate a game, but it's a difference. You know, when you don't see guys that are pure point guards, they've learned how to facilitate a game. You know, Pierre to me is a consummate point guard. He can get guys involved. You've seen how he came in games and, you know, changed the tempo, did a lot of different things. You know, his thing for him, and I tell him this all the time, is the adjustments he has to make. When you're a freshman, now you're a sophomore, there'll be a scouting report. You know, people try to defend him different ways. Those are things where he's going to have to adjust, and he's going to have to figure that out.
There's a bunch of questions coming in, and I'm going to actually start doing the questions now so we can make sure we get to all of them, and then we'll splice in things as we go. But since we're at Damon, I'll start with Damon and go around the horn to the coaches. Question from W.M. Barker. How are you using this strange time as a teachable moment to help your student athletes deal with everything? And the second part of that question is, are your coaching peers around your sport supporting each other? And is there any working through all the obvious difficulties together to get through this? Damon, I think I saw you tweet something last week about what it is like being a coach in this time. And maybe you could touch on that as kind of the backdrop of your answer, and I'll start with you.
No, it's, you know, this – listen, to me, I always say this. So nothing's changed, okay, when, you know, the pandemic was the pandemic. I don't have to be on this call and Pierre will tell you, if you say, well, what does Coach Stoudamire talk to us about? I talk to him pretty much every day more about life than basketball. I equate basketball and try to equate life and what it is and what it takes to be successful outside the game. And, you know, the thing about it is early on, I talked to our guys a lot. Like the last 2 months, I left them alone. Here's the reality of it. I let my player instincts take over. I talk to them enough just to when they think I forgot about them, it'll be like, what's up, coach? That's how I do it, because truthfully, they don't want to talk to me right now. They really don't care about me right now. What they care about is when we get back to school, and we get that scholarship check. That's really the biggest thing on everybody on my team's mind. That's all they're asking about. You got to let them be. You got to let them have their fun, okay? I have a different team. You got to know the pulse of your team. I got some players that are socially conscious. I got some players that aren't. I got some players that I need to call every day. I got some players that I don't. You just gotta know. You gotta know the pulse of your team, and that's the beauty of the guys that I have. I got them all over the place, right? So it's really been easy, and I know they've been talking to not only myself, but they've been talking to the rest of the staff. So I've talked to them a little bit more in the last couple of weeks because it's starting to get back to time. And as a matter of fact, I told them the last time we talked, you can hear the different tone in my voice because it's time to get y'all back, you know, on point, you know. So when we do come back together, there's going to be so many changes. They got to be ready for those changes. It's not time to hear about all that right now. And in terms of my, you know, the peers in the business, like I said, it's all over the place, guys. You know, one thing about it, I'm not a panicker. Right now is not the time to panic. You know, because everybody's in the same boat, okay? I've talked to 10 coaches. They got players sitting on campus right now, and they can't even do nothing. In my mind, I'm saying, why would you bring players back to sit in the room? Okay, even if they could go to the gym 4 days a week, they can't go anywhere else. So, you know, you got that school of thought. And then you got guys that's on my school of thought, you know, that's just saying, hey, man, just stay away, come back. We're going to come back when we can start doing stuff, things of that nature. But it's you know, we've all tried to keep each other in the loop and kind of give each other information. And it's really a tough time. You know, you only have, you know, I always say this, you know, Anybody that knows me always know that I say this because it's facts, because I was at Arizona and we won the league every year. When I was at Memphis, we won the league every year. Whenever I want to know what's going on in this league, I dial the area code 509. Mark Few knows everything that's going on because he's privy to information that nobody else in our league is going to be privy to that information, including the people in the league office at times. So, you know, when I need my answer, my real answer, I'll call Mark. By the way, lastly, so I got a call and Nigel Shad is eligible. He got his waiver to play, so he's eligible right away. And I'll put Gervais in here probably in a couple weeks, but there's a reason to my madness why I didn't put them in together, but I'll put his in a little while. And, you know, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I expect him to get it also. So, but that's big news for us. You know, Nigel he's going to be a beast. He's a monster. He'll automatically be one of the biggest, strongest kids in this league. And that's all muscle, you know, a jumper that just needs an opportunity to get out there on the floor. So we're excited about that.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that news, Coach. He's from Kansas State, right? The transfer from Kansas State?
Yep.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. I'm going to go around the horn with this same question. I'll go to Bradley since we're on Mountain Basketball. We'll go to the women's team next.
Yeah, not to repeat everything, you know, Damon said, but to kind of start in reverse, yeah, you're always talking with other coaches like Damon. Lisa Gonzaga, she and I have known each other since she was playing in junior college. So we talk quite often because I know she's going to know things before I do in terms of what's going on in WCC. But we're all in the same boat. We're all in different boats because we're in different states. We're in different, you know, we're under different rules. We're under different restrictions. So you're just kind of comparing notes and getting some insights when you can, since, you know, we're kind of still waiting for, well, the NCAA has chosen not to make overarching rulings and decisions. So we're just trying to stay in the know with what's going on around the world. But in terms of the communication with the team, you know, in that when you're talking with other coaches, you're kind of getting a sense of what other people are doing and what they're not doing. And I just tried to trust what I felt. And, you know, I don't know if I wanted to be on Zoom twice a week. And if I didn't want to be on Zoom, I didn't think Kaylin would want to be on Zoom twice a week. So we kind of mixed it up in terms of how we communicated with one another. Sometimes it's just an email, sometimes it's a Zoom call. Some weeks it's individual calls. Some weeks you just leave them alone. And I think, you know, on some level, you know, in the case of most of our athletes, they've been playing, you know, basketball, especially year round for so many years now, that maybe a little bit of a break isn't the worst thing in the world in terms of away from everything for a while. So, you know, you're trying to think and make the best decisions you can on the fly, but stay in touch. And, you know, like Damon said, everybody, each individual requires a little bit different attention, is going through something just a little bit different. So everybody's treated a little bit differently, but the same at the same time.
Chris, how about you? I know you're in a kind of a more unique situation because your season was abbreviated and it's not set to start for, you know, another few months. It's a long ways down the road, but how would you answer that question?
Very similar to what Bradley was talking about. It's, you know, it's kind of like one of those things when we get new information regarding possibilities of what's happening, we'll have some Zoom meetings or, you know, things like that. But, you know, you got to know your team, you got to know your guys. And, you know, sometimes it's just a simple phone call or a simple text just to kind of let them know that, hey, you're still there for them. And if they have any questions and, you know, we're a little different when it comes down to it. Cause the guys, I know the guys are all chatting together. They've got their own, they got their own text message board that they're all cross-referencing each other on. And so they're really staying connected. But again, you got to give them that separation a little bit too. I believe in what Damon was saying is that separation of, they got to be able to have their own life and therefore it makes them hungry when they come back to campus. And it's kind of where they are right now.
Greg?
Yeah, ours is, obviously we were getting ready to load up and go off to play St. Mary's and beach volleyball. And then this, all of a sudden I'm telling, okay, girls, pack your bags, you're going home. So at the beginning, we were communicating quite a bit, Zooms, just because of the shock of it all. We were just starting our indoor training. We were in the middle of our beach season. And so to send them home, I think, we were started reading, doing a book club, like, chop wood, carry water, and a lot of just about life lessons and just trying to, I think for me at first, I'm like, God, I feel like I need to be doing something. And then I just shut up and listened to our team. And it was just, okay, we don't need so much, where I need to back off a little bit and then I started just doing it individually. Some of them, like even now, they want to text with me. I have one player on the team who wants to text with me almost every day. Another one wants me to call. Jadyn, I can just call and go, hey, what's up? Good. What's up? Okay, that's it. See ya. And that's it. That's the end of our conversation, is where just to say hi. But it's just more letting them know I'm here for them, and just kind of, and like in the past couple weeks, we've started talking, as any new information comes up, or they're just more anxious than anything. They just want to be together. Even I told them, hey, stay at home, kind of like what Damon was. It's just, I don't need you guys here, especially when I'm not sure what you can do here. But they chose, they want to be together. So they're finding ways to make it work together to where they can still work out and do different things. As Jadyn said, she's playing open gyms and things like that. They're being creative amongst each other. But a lot of it is just listening and making sure that they know we're here for them. But yeah, at first I thought, oh God, I got to make sure I'm doing something for them, when the reality is nah, they're, check in on us. We're fine. If we're not, we'll let you know. And then just kind of backing off and let them enjoy the summer. And then the biggest one is just kind of, hey, no matter what you do, is find a way, to stay in shape. That's the number one thing. I don't care what else you're doing. Do your best to stay in shape, and so that's been it. And then obviously they're on an on-call situation. It's like being back at, when I was in the Marine Corps, this hurry up and wait thing, is just, you're in a state of readiness right now, is just whenever I know any new information, I'll pass it along, and they know that, hey, if we have an opportunity to get back in a couple weeks, 3 weeks or whatever, they are just ready and anxious to get going. So that's kind of it.
Awesome. And thanks for the question. I want to go back to baseball. I got a couple questions here for Chris Rodriguez, but I want to ask Alex first, because maybe he gives some perspective on this. Why did you choose Pacific? You're a native of Sacramento. Why ultimately did you choose to come to UOP?
So for me personally, I was recruited by Mike New, who was the head coach 2 head coaches ago now. And actually Pacific was my only D1 offer. I had a couple other offers from D3. Thinking about going to the JC route, maybe go to Sac City. But my mom actually teaches at the law school here in Sacramento at University of the Pacific. Yeah, at McGeorge. So the connection to Pacific was sort of always there. So it was kind of the perfect fit for me. And I was happy to get an offer from Mike New at the time. And I was able to come on as a preferred walk-on. And things sort of played out and went good from there.
Awesome. I asked you that question because there is a question for Coach Rodriguez from John Ralston. What's up, John? The question is, given that Pacific is a small, academically driven private school, the NCAA restriction on scholarships, et cetera, what's your recruiting pitch to potential recruits to recruit for baseball at Pacific?
I think Pacific's got a ton to offer a lot of people, especially on who you target. Baseball is kind of that weird sport when it comes down to it. If you're watching the trend, the high school GPAs are really starting to go up, and people are paying attention and understanding the benefits of having a higher GPA. And with us, the way it works is if we target those higher GPA individuals, the scholarship money, the academic wise, becomes stackable, and we can make it affordable for guys, even though we only have 11.7 scholarships. NCAA actually just came out, which I think is going to help the private schools a lot. It's not official yet, but the board hasn't passed it, but the council did, saying that we're going to be able to basically make merit money, which is academic money, need-based aid non-countable. So that's not going to go towards that 11.7, which is going to make a leveler playing field when it comes down to cost factors. So we can target some certain athletes that we probably weren't able to before just due to cost restraints. But honestly, the recruiting pitch, get them on campus and just let them fall in love with the campus. I think that's kind of the misconception of what's happened in the past is athletes or guys or families, when they come to campus, they walk around the campus and see how actually beautiful it truly is. And the, it's the world to kind of live in is the amenities that are part of baseball that we're really catching up with, that we have over most of the schools, at least on the West Coast. We have everything in place to make the athletes' time at Pacific enjoyable. And it's about selling those aspects and selling the program as a developmental program to get these guys to continue to move forward, both as a on and off the field development. Kind of what Coach Stoudamire was talking about is creating this vibe of how do you create the man off the field and create the man on the field. And so you create that type of vibe, and honest, open, clear communication with families goes a long ways. And in the world of D1 baseball, it's not always happening. So who I am is I try to be as clear and through as much as I can to have that honest communication. So when parents or potential student athletes are done talking with me, they're like, wow, he's different. And that's the idea.
Good answer. And I'm going to keep it real quick with you for a quick one. This is from David to you, C-Rod. Do your players do shoulder repair and conditioning with Jaeger bands year-round? Not to be confused with Jaeger bombs, but Jaeger bands year-round.
Jaeger bombs would be a no. The Jaeger bands, I think they're highly important, especially for the shoulder stabilization. When our players are currently throwing, yes, 100%. We do have some ramp down phases to where I don't really want them touching the ball or doing too much, because too much of anything is a bad thing. So we do have some periods to where periodically they shut down for probably a maximum about 3 weeks, 21 days that they'll shut down completely, and then slowly ramp it back up. But for sure, the Jaeger bands are used typically on a just about daily basis as both pre-throw and post-throw, along with a few other mobility, cross-symmetry bands, and some plyo care arm throws. So yes.
Cool. I want to do some looking ahead with the student athletes here, and I'll start with Jadyn. Jadyn, I know your team was a really young team last year. You've obviously grown another year going into this coming season. How do you feel this season is going to shape up for you guys?
Being optimistic and hoping that we have our season.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to finally having upperclassmen because, freshman year, sophomore year, we've not only been small in numbers but also in age. And, Greg's always preached to us, don't use age as an excuse. You're young. You're just as capable as every other team. But I can't lie. Obviously, it's going to be great having a big group of upperclassmen and a big group of freshmen coming in. So even aside from that, having that leadership and older players, it's going to be awesome having the numbers and having a larger team because, with our team, even injuries and the numbers of players on our team, that's obviously plagued us the last 2 seasons. So, finally something to look forward to. So that's exciting.
Greg was talking about your strong personality, and now, as I mentioned, you're a year older. Do you feel like it's more incumbent on you to take on a leadership role coming into this season, especially if you have a limited amount of time to prepare for a potential season?
Yeah, I definitely do feel like, step up and be a leader, but as a libero on the court starting as a freshman, I was told from day one, when Nicole was here, Greg, they preached to me, don't use your age as an excuse. You're a libero on the court. You're going to be a leader. So, just keep moving forward. Like Greg said, he's setting different bars for me, but same mentality of being a leader on the court. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to ask the same question to Kaylin. To start, Kaylin, about your season and your thoughts on this upcoming season and how successful you girls can be.
Yeah, I mean, each season that I've been at Pacific's been different. Like we've had our challenges my freshman year and sophomore year. But this year we have some freshmen coming in who I think can make an impact. And I just think like as a team, we can really do some damage in the WCC. And I think a part of that has to come from just like wanting revenge against some of the teams that we haven't beat in the WCC. Like I personally haven't beat Gonzaga or BYU at all. And that some of the other players have the same experience without beating some of those teams. And you just got to have that, like, you have to use that to be hungry to beat these teams and not like shy away from the challenge of taking on a top Gonzaga that always takes first in the conference. So definitely think we have the tools, the right tools to make some noise this year in the WCC for sure.
Cool. Pierre, I've heard Damon talk about this a lot in the tons of practices I've watched from when Damon first started coaching at Pacific. He's talked a lot about going from being the hunters to being the hunted. And you guys might be transitioning into being a team that's one of the hunted teams in the league. I think people are going to be more ready for Pacific this coming year. What are your thoughts on kind of transitioning from being the team that people are now ready to play as opposed to the team that's flying under the radar?
I feel like we had a good season, and now that's over. So now we have to look forward to our upcoming season, and we're going to approach it the same way we did last year. And that's just by buying in and playing hard. So I can't really say how we're going to do this upcoming season, but I know that the culture we have of playing hard and buying into the coach's game plan will be just fine.
I have a question/comment for you from another one from John Ralston.
Yes.
John says he enjoyed your pass-first approach offensively last year. Wants to know if you've been working on your free throws in the offseason so you could stay on the court late in games.
Definitely. I took it upon myself. That was one of my challenges last year. And so that's the one thing I've been focusing on in the gym every day is just letting go and having the same approach to it every day and just willingly wanting to stay locked in the gym and getting better.
I'm gonna jump to Damon and I'm gonna ask Bradley the same question. But we heard Kaylin talk about her outstanding free throw percentage, 86%, second in the conference, and we heard her talk about how Bradley helped her with her mechanics. Damon, is there something mentally or mechanically that you believe in teaching that helps with getting people better at the line?
You know, I don't really know. To be honest with you, I don't.
Did you have a routine?
I did. 3 dribbles, 1 dribble flip, 2 dribble flip, 3 dribble flip, shoot it. But I just tried to shoot the same shot every day. This is the one thing I tell Pierre and I tell all our guys, because I'm not a shot doctor. I just try to make you comfortable in shooting. So just shoot the ball, right? Because the biggest thing is, don't get me wrong, he's a Hall of Fame player, but I played against Reggie Miller for I don't know how long. He shoot with 2 hands. You know what I mean? He shoot with 2 hands. And, you know, how you shoot is how you shoot. We just got to work on making it go through the hole. You know, you just got to have confidence. I played with Dale Davis. He wasn't a great free throw shooter, but then when they start fouling him, you know, he'll make them when they count it. You know, I never could understand it, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, it's crazy, you know, and I think that, you know, not just with Pierre, but just with anybody, it's, you know, it's getting a confidence and, you know, you have to, you know, when you're going through a streak where maybe it's not going as well for you, you got to stick with what got you there. You can't start changing up and wavering on what you're doing.
Bradley, can you kind of expand on what you worked on with Kaylin?
Honestly, very similar to what Damon said. It's not that you, he used the term shot doctor. That's not who I am or trying to be. I think you just keep it simple, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, and do the same thing make sure your shot's the same every single time. So with Kaylin, really the only thing we talked about was taking out the things that will make her shot different every single time. And that was going so low, you know, dipping down so much and getting so much of a different explosion when she's shooting it. But when we're talking about free throws and one of the reasons, I would go to Kaylin late in games is because she was one of the more mentally tough in terms of just that pressure of having to take that free throw, whether it's at the end of a practice or somewhere mid-practice or at the end of the game. She doesn't let the other things kind of get to her. Before Jess went out this year, Jess was shooting like 90%, and she was probably our go-to for technical shots. And then you're looking around to see who the next go-to is, and it was down to like Kaylin and Jadyn, and Kaylin kind of emerged as that.
So check it out. So I can't remember what year it was. I led the NBA in free throw shooting. I was leading the NBA in free throw shooting. We played the Indiana Pacers, and it's a technical foul. I go to the line. Reggie walks by me. He says something. I missed a free throw. I went from first to fourth on one missed free throw. It was Peja Stojakovic, Ray Allen, and Reggie Miller was behind me. I fell behind all of them, and I only missed one free throw. Finished fourth on the year, I think.
And it was that one free throw.
Free throw.
It's amazing how you guys remember everything, man. It's like those details. It's crazy. Kaylin, how much of your approach at the free throw line is mental?
Honestly, I don't even think. I just, that's what it is for me. I just go to the free throw line. I've shot enough free throws in my life to know that I do this all the time. Keep it the same. It's going to go in. Mm-hmm. That's it.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about what it was like to be named WCC All-Academic Honorable Mention. Obviously had a great year on and off the court. Academically, what was it like for you this past year?
Honestly, I was a little surprised, but hearing that news, it felt really good just because, coming in as a freshman, I definitely was one of those kids in high school that it's pretty, stereotypical, but in high school, you don't really have to work hard and study as much. High school is more of a breeze, and coming into college, that was not the case, and I struggled my freshman year. So to be recognized, as an honorable mention all-academic, that felt pretty good. So.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Alex, I know it's a long ways away. It seems like a long ways away for baseball, but what can you project ahead for us for the upcoming baseball season if and when it gets started?
Yeah, I think we have a pretty good team coming in. I think, first of all, we had a really good team last year, and we were just sort of starting to hit our stride. We really only are losing our first baseman and one of our starting pitchers, so we're bringing back a lot of the same guys. And part of that was the MLB draft getting reduced to 5 rounds, which sort of has a couple guys here this year who might not have been otherwise, which is really big for us as a program. And then Coach Sierra, too, did a great job of recruiting some pretty impact arms to come in, guys who throw hard, which, is a big deal in WCC when every game's really close. So, yeah, I think we have a really good team coming in.
Chris, I don't know if I'd ask you about this, but that's a huge dynamic change with the draft being cut to 5 rounds. How does that impact you and I guess other people in your situation at the collegiate level?
By that, I think it's probably saved us probably three to four potential returners or incoming guys that's kind of saved us on a little bit. So we're looking to have those guys be part of the program where I think in a normal draft, 50-50 if they would have went or not. So, it's going to help us on that end. But on the other end, it's also helped out every other team, and it's probably in the same facet. So I'm looking for this next year of college baseball to be, highly competitive. They've done some crazy things out there. I've talked to some of the coaches, friends of mine that are in the ACC, the SEC, and some of these rosters are 55 deep, which to me is crazy you're only playing 9 guys at a time. So that 55 guys on a roster, because they basically took the roster limits away. There's going to be a lot of upset people playing time or whatever, but it's going to add to a lot of depth on a lot of teams, and it should be an interesting year for the college. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I would second that. Damon, we have a question for you from Bryn Peterson. What do you think the team can accomplish this next year, and what do you see as the strengths and weaknesses of the team? And he also says, great job last year.
Thank you on that. I appreciate it. And truth be told, I don't know. You know, the beauty about me is I never put an expectation on my team because I adjust with my team. I adjust with the strengths. I adjust with the weaknesses. Obviously, you're losing Jalil, really good ball player. So that's going to be hard to replace. So you got to get it from different places. We got enough guys on our team that have been in big games that there'll be somebody that emerge. There'll be several people that emerge. To say who that's going to be, I don't really know, you know, because outside of Jalil and the consistency that he brought, you know, it was a collective effort. And I think that for me as a coach, I don't really put that out there. You know, I say it because he's on the line. You know, it's like Pierre and Justin. I thought they were a great combination together. Obviously, I want them both to get better. Obviously, I want them to do a little bit more. We'll see. You know, you gotta see those things. One thing I learned when I was in college, you know, from my head coaches, you don't predetermine and you just kind of let the dominoes fall where they may. And like I said, that's the beauty of, you know, I think that's one of the beauties of the team is that we have enough experience, I think, to win games, but where it's going to come from, I couldn't tell you.
We're coming down the home stretch. I do have one more for Greg, and it's about projecting your season. How do you project what your team might be able to accomplish this year? Again, having a real young team last year, kind of building it from the ground up, and now they're a year older.
Well, I think it's exciting. You know, same thing. I mean, I just think the way we compete, you know, I think we're going to make obviously the process of jumping and competing at a much higher level. You know, we're returning an all-conference libero. We're returning an all-conference outside hitter. And you got to remember, our number one point scorer was out all last year. You know, except she played the first 3 matches, Riley Ramsey, and she's an all-conference outside hitter who we were, 4-0, 3-0 before she went down and had some knee surgery. So we get her back, a 6'2", and then we're bringing in one of the top recruiting classes in the country. And then just some of the strides that you look at our middle blockers where the improvements they started making before we had to, you know, go home is, I mean, what's not to be excited? We return every single key player. Our setters are coming back. I mean, everybody. So, I mean, and then we just added other players that are going to complement what we already have. So it's just exciting. You know, I mean, it's I can't wait to get into a gym, you know, from, you know, when I say it's all about the ball, wow, that's going to be fun as we grow and develop, you know, once we get them where we need to be, it's going to be fun seeing how we finish here.
We're excited to see it, and hopefully we can see it. Hopefully there's a season to be played. I hope I get everyone's questions. If you're on this and you have a question, you can raise your hand and we can unmute you. If not, we're going to wrap it up. But if anybody has a question that we didn't get to, you can raise your hand and we'll call you out and Bree can unmute. But if not, I think that will probably do it for today. Unless the PAF has anything else they'd like to add. Bree, you could nod yes or no. I think.
Nope, I'm good.
All right. I think thank you guys all for coming. Thank you to our panel, to student athletes and coaches. We miss seeing you guys, and hopefully we can see everybody back on campus soon. And we love you all. Go Tigers.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Guys, thanks everybody.
Thanks everybody.